So, I mean, an established wholesale seller is more so thinking long term. With wholesale, it is more so about quality of relationships and really establishing and deepening those relationships with a couple of key suppliers so that way you're not playing whack-a-mole having to turn over ASINs every, couple of months. You've got a consistent stream of profitable products from somebody that you know and you trust. You can buy them in large quantities, you can get good pricing, and you can nurture that relationship for 1, 2, 5, 10 years.
Welcome to the Young and Driven podcast, where we explore the world of entrepreneurship. Join us as we dive into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to start, grow, and scale a successful business. We're on a mission to share our experiences, failures, insights, and advice with others. Whether you're just starting out in your entrepreneurial journey or you're looking to take your business to the next level, tune in and join the conversation about what it takes to succeed in the world of business.
We going full throttle.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Young and Driven podcast. Thank you for listening. I am sitting here with my friend Corey Ganim. And if you're on Twitter, if you're in the Amazon space, this guy has exploded in this last year. So he is, honestly, it's kind of hard. You're probably the most active person on Twitter as of this moment. And the reality is it's because you're giving so much valuable insight into the wholesale space. So Corey's specialized in Amazon wholesale for the past 4 years, right?
Yep.
And then last year, what'd you do? You did $4 million in revenue? Something like that?
Yeah, 4.3. Yeah, fully remote.
Jeez.
Too.
Goodness gracious. Okay, so I want to dive into that because there's a lot of people, like Amazon wholesale is kind of a buzzword. So for those that aren't into Amazon, there's a ton of different strategies with Amazon. There's probably 4 major strategies. Amazon wholesale is probably on the upper end where you have a lot of revenue, but obviously there's a lot of other business tactics that are involved and strategies, and also just like infrastructure that's required in order to get to that level. So something that you can do when you're a seasoned Amazon seller, hard to do just from the get. So, but with that being said, everyone's kind of talking about Amazon wholesale. Everybody's kind of into it. Everybody wants to know more about it. Everybody's kind of chasing this new shiny object. Last year it was OA. Last year it was VAs as well, but now it seems to be like, okay, Amazon wholesale is the main thing. So pleasure to have you, Corey. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. And I mean, speaking of Twitter, that's how you and I originally got connected. And I know you're doing some good stuff on there too. So it's good to get on here and talk about it.
Well, so I think, I want to talk about that networking. So to give people more clarity, where me and Corey got started, I saw you started tweeting in January?
Yeah, I want to say like January 12th or something was like the first tweet.
And I think you got to 1,000 followers in less than a month, right?
Yeah, I think pretty quickly.
So I found you on there, and it was probably because someone gassed you up, probably like Miles gassed you up or something like that. And I immediately was like, nope, this guy's legit. This guy's the real deal. And I was like, I got to talk to you. So I hit your DMs, and I was like, what do I got to do to pay for a consult? And this was before you were even like putting out content on YouTube or anything like that. I was like,
yeah, and I definitely wasn't like offering consulting calls either. So I think, and I mean, I was about to turn you down.
Was I the first?
Yeah. You guys, I think, were the first one. And I mean, I was about to turn you down, not because, I mean, I didn't like you or anything, but more so just because I really was not against monetizing that early. I mean, I was, but I was more so of the mind of, hey, let's just keep putting out free value. Can't just talk to everybody, but if it makes sense, we'll do it. But I think it made sense at that time.
And you charged me a ridiculous amount for a first call. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know. What, 200 for like an hour or something?
It was $350, I think. I think you were like,
was it
$350 for an hour? Yeah.
Yeah. No, was it? Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
Actually, you were hungry for it. No, but the best part. So
that's why I was like, I mean, if he's down to pay, I'll do it.
Yeah. So I joined the call, and I got my friends Kaja and Josh on there too. And then I started talking to you, and my goal was like, honestly, I just want to network. I just want to connect with you. I want to be someone in your brain that exists.
Right.
And then you, I think at that same time was the Miami Sellers Conference.
Yeah, it was like right before that, because I remember we got connected. Yeah, our call was probably like a few weeks before that, and then a couple of weeks later, or maybe like a week later, I tweeted like, "Hey, who's going to Miami Seller Conference? Like, who has an Airbnb basically that they want to split?" You're and you DM me, you're like, "You can sleep on my couch." I'm like, "Whatever, it's free."
Yeah.
Like, sure.
Well, I know what, you didn't charge me for the call because of that, because I gave you that couch.
Oh yeah, then maybe that's what it was.
It was clutch. Anyway, all that to say, I think I'm a big fan of. That's pretty much what I do. Is I'll reach out to people and I'll say, "Hey, can I pay for your time? Can I just like spend time with you? I see that you're legitimate, and I want to talk to you, and I want to know more about you." And I want to hear your thoughts on what networking has been, because essentially you did this journey of Amazon for a long time by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you were building this business. Tell me about a little about your start. Like, give me you can take 3 minutes and just tell me kind of your story and how you got started on Amazon and how that brought you to Twitter and what you're doing on there.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as how I got started, I stumbled upon a Reezy Resales video in January of 2017. I was a senior in college at the time, and so I graduated in May. And really, like a month before I graduated, I already opened my Amazon seller account. I had been binge watching all the videos. Like, I was deep in the rabbit hole, like a lot of people get when they start out. Yeah. And I think it was the day after graduation, or maybe 2 days after graduation, I started going around to every thrift store in my town. And I was pretty much copying the Reezy Resales method. I was going used books, buying them for 50 cents, $1, selling them for $20, $50, $100 for some of these bigger textbooks. 2 months later, moved to Chicago, my first corporate job. Didn't have a car, so couldn't continue going around to thrift stores. So that's when I started to get into online arbitrage, and really got in deep into online arbitrage the second half of 2017 and all of 2018, and then stumbled upon Wholesale in January of 2019. Stumbled upon a Larry Labarsky, who he goes by Watch Me Amazon. Stumbled upon one of his videos, saw the model in action, saw the potential that it had to really snowball your cash, and went 100% into Wholesale at that time. So started cold calling 20 to 30 new brands per day, in addition to the ones that I was following up with. So there were days when I was on the phone for hours, like the whole day. And I had a corporate job the whole time that I was clearly dropping the ball in. So
what was that corporate job? What was that corporate job?
I worked in like software storage, like data storage sales.
Okay.
For a big company,
were you doing
did not
sales?
like it. So I was there for 2 years, and the first year and a half was all training. So I wasn't on a team. I didn't have a quota, like literally 100% sales training for a year and a half, which I mean, in hindsight was fantastic because it laid such a good foundation. I mean, I got paid to be taught how to be a really good salesperson. And like the company I work for is pretty highly regarded as having like one of the better post-grad sales training programs. And yeah, it was a really good experience. But ended up quitting that job, but like we weren't even really making any money on Amazon at the time. More so, it's just like, I don't like doing this. I'm just gonna take a chance. Ended up moving back home, moved in with my mom for like 7 or 8 months while I kind of had to go with that business. And kind of the rest is history.
So, what was the first year? How much did you make? So you doing Reezy resales stuff?
I mean, I think in 2017, the whole year, I think I did $7,000 or $8,000 in revenue. I mean, I probably made a few $100. I have no idea. Like, I wasn't keeping books. I was just like going by the seat of my pants, just kind of trying to learn everything. Yeah. And then year 2, online arbitrage, no idea. Couldn't have been much more, maybe like 20, 30, 40,000 in revenue the whole year. Yeah. Then 2019, when we got into Wholesale, I remember specifically $292K in 2019. 2020 was $990K, 2021 was $3.1 million, and then 2022 was $4.3 million in revenue. And
goodness gracious.
Yeah, so this year we're on track to do, pretty much about the same as last year.
Okay. Do you want to cap at that certain level, or are you thinking like, I want to go get 10?
I think there's a decision that needs to be made somewhere down the line, because I really enjoy the Amazon business, but at the end of the day, doing what I'm doing on social media, this content, all that entails, definitely takes a lot of time as well. So I think the goal is to continue growing the Amazon, like definitely keep growing it. I don't want it to be stagnant. I want it to make more money and be more successful, but do so in a predictable manner where I can kind of set my team up to be the ones to lead that growth, as opposed to me having to be there for it. And that's, kind of already in place and what we've already started to implement. So I think that's kind of the goal while I continue to put out content and really build that as an entirely separate business, which it is.
Yeah, you are someone that is really regimented with your time. You spend. You're focused on balance. You're focused on focus flows. We had a call with Dylan talking about this, and I would love to kind of hear you say something. Just tell me about your daily habits that you like. Some things that are non-negotiable for you in this process. Like you're talking about, you spent seasons where you're on the phone all day. I'm thinking everyone that's listened to you is not thinking that they need to be doing that, or not understanding that that's almost a requirement to get to where you're at. So tell me about, like, how do you schedule yourself out so that you can have that level of productivity?
Yeah, so that's really been like an evolving process, and it's something that I'm like obsessed with, is like trying to be more productive, trying to squeeze more time out of the day, really trying to be as efficient as possible with my time, because I do have a lot going on and I want to have time for hobbies and other stuff too. So these days I've really gotten into, are you familiar with this? It's an AI scheduling tool. It's called Reclaim.ai.
Yeah. Yep.
It's this, and I think there's another one called Shift maybe,
Okay.
or yeah, basically there's
Motion?
another
I think
like
there's
motion, not Shift. Yeah. So that's like, and they're the same thing basically. But what Reclaim.ai does is so you have events on, you can basically, it syncs with your Google Calendar. So it imports all your scheduled events, and then you create what are called habits within Reclaim. And based on the priority, based on how long they take, it will then proactively schedule those habits into your day around your existing schedule. And let's say, because these things happen, a meeting runs late or you're running behind, as long as you're kind of staying on top of the calendar and alerting it as to when that's happening, it will rearrange your schedule to where it's like, I know basically what I need to be doing every minute of every day. And it's been a game changer in helping me just get stuff done quickly.
Yeah. So what are those habits? What are you doing?
So every day I schedule it's called like focus time. So I scheduled 2 50-minute blocks first thing in the morning, where that's when I sit down and bang out like any of my deep work, like any of my writing, any of my recording YouTube videos, anything that like requires a lot of thinking. So really that's like 9 a.m. to 9:50. And then I take a short break for breakfast, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I sit down for another 50 minutes. And honestly, like 80 to 90% of the time, those 2 50-minute blocks, when my phone is on airplane mode, I'm locked in, I'm like not focused on anything else but the task at hand, it's rare that I can't knock out everything I need to do for the day in those 2 50-minute blocks. I mean, it's just not, like I don't have stuff that takes me all day to do. So as long as I can sit down in those 2 50-minute blocks and bang out like my big tasks for the day, like the priorities, then the rest of the day kind of falls into place. So I schedule those 2 blocks and I really am consistent in hitting those. And the other things that I schedule into my day are I make a habit to read 30 minutes a day. So that's scheduled into the day, and
Like
that's usually
fiction, nonfiction?
no, like business, psychology, just not nonfiction, kind of whatever I'm interested in. Like right now, it's a book about like the history of Disney and like kind of the management fiasco in the early 2000s. Really good book.
What's it called?
Disney War.
Disney War. Okay. By who?
James B. Stewart. It's really
Got it.
good. It's like 560 pages long. I have like
Okay.
20 pages.
You're a
long.
physical book guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've got hundreds of books. That's why I need to get a bookshelf because they're just in boxes in my closet.
Yeah.
But okay, so back to the schedule. So I schedule in that 30 minutes of reading. Usually that's at the end of every day because that's easy. I just sit down and knock it out when I'm done. I schedule in I try to walk outside 2 times a day. So usually I'm walking for like a total of an hour each day.
Okay.
I just enjoy doing it. It's kind of like my form of cardio. And then the last thing that I schedule in every day is I do like what I call like a daily review. And I stole that concept from Dylan. Like our call with Dylan, remember he was going over like his review templates for like daily review, weekly review.
Do you use that Notion template that he has?
Yeah, so I don't use the weekly. And then I've tweaked the daily to suit like my schedule. So yeah, it's like 80% his, and I tweaked it a little bit. So
for context for people, we're talking about Dylan Carter. He owns a company. He runs a company that does AI repricing for Amazon, and so he's brilliant, really a brilliant guy.
Yeah,
and we
super
talked to him
smart.
about it, and essentially talked to him. We got a call with him, a similar situation where I DM'd him and I was like, dude, I gotta get time with you. I respect you. And we talked to him, and it ended up being like a 2.5 hour call where he just laid out all of his focus states and his schedule and what he schedules in within those, and how he relates to his team, how he relates to people, how he organizes everything. And it was mind blowing to see the difference between where I'm at, someone who's a small seller, and someone who's running a company that's going to be doing $15 million in the next 2 years. Huge difference.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and I mean that conversation was super impactful. But I mean, really that daily review is where it takes 15 to 20 minutes. And I mean, without going into like the whole thing, it's where I pretty much just like clear any of my inboxes, like email, text, voicemail, Slack, WhatsApp, clear those, set priorities for the next day, schedule the next day, make sure like my to-do list is set for the next day, calendar set for the next day. And then once that daily review is done, that's when I kind of like mentally transition into the rest of my day. So that's not to say stuff doesn't kind of pop up here and there throughout the rest of the day. But that daily review is kind of what separates the workday from like the rest of the day.
What do you think? Do you think that more sellers should be doing this? Do you think more
Yes,
sellers should be
100%.
thinking about their time?
Yeah, especially because like so many of them, not so many of them, but like there are a lot of guys that have a full-time job. They're selling on Amazon on the side. Their goal is to go full-time. Well, the quickest way to get there is to be so like purposeful with your time, especially if you're working around a 9-hour, like 9 to 5 job every day. So it comes down to finding out like when do you work best. Me personally, I'm a morning person. I'm useless after like 3 or 4 p.m. So if I have a 9 to 5 job and I'm trying to grow my Amazon business to a point where I can go at it full time, I'm waking up an hour, 2 hours early every day, and that's when I'm working on the business, so that when I come home from my job at night, I can focus on resting and recuperating. And it doesn't take 3, 4, 5, 6 hours every day, at least not at times, as long as you show up every day for like an hour or two. But it just comes down to the consistency.
Well, then that brings me to a good question, because I think you have a lot of followers that are talking to you and saying, they're like, most of the people that follow you are trying to make a transition. They're not trying to think about how can I start in wholesale. Some of them maybe, but like the majority are saying, I'm doing OA. I've been doing Amazon for a little bit. I see the scalability of wholesale. I see the idea that I can have essentially replenishable items, smaller margin, replenishable items that I don't have to keep doing these sales. I don't have to be doing the July 4th sale. I don't have to be doing the Black Friday sale. I can just look and find the products and get the relationships. Yep. What's the biggest difference between an established wholesale seller and someone that's transitioning from OA? What's the biggest difference between the two?
So, I mean, an established wholesale seller is more so thinking long term, because some of these, and not necessarily OA sellers, but just the nature of the OA business itself, it's like you're always looking for the next deal and the next sale and the next, hot product, the next bolo, where with wholesale, it is more so about quality of relationships and really establishing and deepening those relationships with a couple of key suppliers, so that way you're not playing whack-a-mole having to turn over ASINs every couple of months. You've got a consistent stream of profitable products from somebody that you know and you trust. You can buy them in large quantities, you can get good pricing, and you can nurture that relationship for 1, 2, 5, 10 years.
Yeah. Have you been trying to hone down on the amount of people that you're like the amount of suppliers you have? Like, are you thinking about, like,
we've even started turning suppliers away. So because I've gotten more active on Twitter and YouTube, I mean, we've had suppliers reach out to us and people come to us wanting to sell to us, which is quite a welcome change from how it was for the first 5 years of like begging for accounts and begging to buy stuff from people. But that said, it's like now it comes down to opportunity management, because we don't have unlimited capital, and some of these suppliers, I mean, they're just, at the end of the day, they're not that good.
Yeah.
So we've pretty much narrowed down our top like 3 to 6, and we don't even really work with anybody else. We've started working with a couple of new ones recently, but for the most part, and I mean, I'm not interested in raising like $1 million in capital to buy inventory.
Yeah.
I think we can grow sustainably as we are, and it doesn't take more than 6 suppliers to do that. It really doesn't.
That's crazy. That's kind of the dream. So how many, you said you focus so much energy on, like, you're focusing more energy on content. You got the wholesale challenge that by the time this is going to be posted, that'll have been successful. A lot of people will be coming to you and knowing you for your help in that. Do you have an idea of like how much time you're deviating towards specifically Amazon business versus content? Like, Soros, the big thing that he talks about, like every time I talk to him, he's like, I spend 2 hours in my OA store. And I'm sure he does a ton of other stuff, but that's like his pride and joy, is that he only spends 2 hours doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably put my involvement at the same time. I'd say 2 hours a day on average as far as the Amazon business is concerned. In fact, we recently just laid off, I guess, half of our employees, which is only 2. But the reason for that, so I guess let me give some context there.
Yeah,
they were our product sourcing team members, so they were spending their entire day finding new products for us to buy from our existing suppliers. Okay. The nature of our business now, we have so many inbound leads, we have so many good relationships. Suppliers are just sending us products to buy, and we're just giving them a yes or no. So their role, I mean, it is, but it's the truth. So at the end of the day, their role, we're paying them, I mean, $1,600 per month total between the two of them, when in reality, we're not really getting the benefit out of them that we once were. They're phenomenal. They're great employees. They crushed it. It just, the role doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So what were we even talking about before that?
No, sorry. The reason I was asking is because, like, not only are you
how many hours per
establish
day?
doing this, you're establishing relationships that you can continually invest in, but it
Mm-hmm.
takes so little of your time, so that you can actually buy back your freedom. That's essentially what you've done.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too is, so like right now we have 2 employees on our staff. One is head of operations, one is head admin. So they're pretty much partners in crime as far as like running the business. And so but I mean, one of them has been with me for 3.5 years. The other one only about 6 months, but he's learned very quickly. So my main one, head of operations, she has been shadowing my every move ever since she came on. She knows every aspect of the business inside and out, because I probably have 200, 300, 400 hours, if not more, of recorded Zoom meeting screen share videos with her over the last 3.5 years that she could also reference at any time if she needs to.
Yeah. So do you do like weekly one-on-ones with her, or do you talk more frequently?
So
This
we
is
do
super tactical. I'm sorry, but I'm curious.
No, I like it. I like talking about this, because like the team structure and like the actual like tactics of like how I run the team, I don't feel like I've talked about a lot, so I want to talk about it.
Let's get into it.
Currently we have a scheduled team meeting every Wednesday, so it's just me, her, the admin, and then my personal assistant. She joins just because she's not necessarily part of the business. We spend 15-20 minutes touching on the team KPIs for the week, going over the past week's performance, and then talking strategy and really just giving marching orders for the week, which honestly is usually just kind of business as usual. It's like, we know what to do, let's just keep doing it and review our progress.
Yeah.
And then right after that, every Wednesday, it's called like our buyer call, where we take 30 to 45 minutes, review any standing purchase orders. If there are any status updates they need to give to me as far as like orders in progress, that's when we discuss them. That's when they will pitch me like new products for us to buy. So if there's a new product we've never carried before and my head of operations feels strongly about it, she'll say, hey, here's a new product. This is why I think we should buy it. This is how many I think we should buy. And this is the price that I was able to negotiate. So that all I have to do is within 10 seconds, I can say yes, no, or change the quantity.
Yeah.
And so as a result of those buyer meetings, they can take 30 to 45 minutes. But in that 30 to 45 minutes, we put together 6-figure purchase orders in that time frame every week, which obviously go on to make us a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, so, and you're not saying this, where are your employees based?
So the two in the business are in the Philippines, and then my personal assistant is in Nigeria.
Okay. Well, so something I love is that I hate how people are just communicating about virtual assistants and almost like talking about them derogatorily when it's like they're people. And I love that you're communicating about your team. You're saying my head of operations, my head admin, my personal assistant, right? I know that's intentional.
That's intentional since our conversation with Dylan, and he harped on it so many times. And then I finally was like, I know that's the way I need to be operating, so I'm going to start doing it. So I've really made it a point to not, like, I don't even try to use the word VA or virtual assistant. We've got our head of operations, we've got our head admin, and then I've got my executive assistant. They just happen to live overseas.
Yeah, which is, I think that's, I wish a lot of business owners would recognize this and not look down on it, because there's this negative relationship with the idea of outsourcing. Mm-hmm. First off, it's almost like crucial when you're starting a business, because
you have to.
You can't afford a W-2. Like, you're not gonna be able to afford the healthcare. You're not, and like, to even pay someone, people pay $20 hourly. That's it's just not gonna be possible to do that and to scale it the way that we want to scale at this level. So I mean, if you're listening to this and you're a business owner and you don't have virtual assistants, and you're not giving them titles that are worthy of that title, because that's what the job they're doing, you have to rethink your strategy, because you can scale so much faster with people from overseas that are genuinely awesome people that are like, I have killers on my team, and it sounds like
I hate hiring people from the States. If it were up to me, I would literally only hire people from the Philippines for the rest of my life. They're that good. Issue is the quantity. There's so many of them, and so many of them are looking for roles. You really have to drill in and find one that's going to be a good fit and find a really good one. But when you do, and you give them ownership over the role, you give them a legitimate title, you pay them well, right? The days of $2-3 an hour are gone. I mean, a good good virtual employee starts at least in the Philippines, is going to start at $5-6 an hour. And I mean, my head of operations is at $10 an hour. So you got to be willing to pay for quality. And some of those folks are 100 times more qualified than people in the States.
And just to tell other people, like, my strategy has been a little bit different. I started with people that probably had a little bit less experience, and I invested more time into them. So I started most of my trial periods, I actually started at 250. And I know that's crazy, and people that do
crazy.
that, it's a little bit too low, but I try to immediately incentivize and be like, nope, I'm going to train you. This is your training period. I'm going to give you like a month. We're going to learn. We're going to have frequent one-on-ones. We're going to talk a lot. And then you're going to be immediately bumped. Like, I've given one of my employees, she's gotten 3 raises in 3 months. And so she'll be, by the end of the year, she'll be close to that $8 to $10 place, just because that's the value that she brings. And so that's why I try to push on is like, own the value, own the outcome, and earn the dollar amount that comes with that outcome. And you can get people that you can afford that actually help your business and use money as a motivation tool, not just like as an hourly, this is just what you're worth, because that's
you're not just checking a box. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Because it's about investment into them, and they want the education. They want the connection too.
Absolutely.
Let me shift gears here. So I want to talk about content with you. No one's really talked to you about this. You've been on a ton of podcasts. So if you guys want to hear more about Corey with Wholesale in specific, he's been on a ton of podcasts. Every Amazon seller's had him on. He has his own
not to mention my own.
And not to mention our own podcast that he's been launched and that he's been crushing. And he just got over 1,000 downloads as of this recording. So definitely check it. If you want information on that specifically, listen to his stuff. I want to talk to you, Corey, about your content strategy. And I know it's something that I wish other business owners in general, not just in the Amazon space, but in general would learn from, because you've been able to establish a community in 7 months, which is impressive. And when I say community, I mean monetizable community. And it's because you've just focused on giving value. So tell me about your strategy. Tell me about like joining. First off, you did this all by yourself, right? You've established a business
you've
for
been
4 years.
Well, yeah, I guess I thought you were talking about the media thing. I was going to say I definitely want to give you credit as far as the content, but yeah.
No, but you've established yourself in Amazon for 4 years, and then you're like, man, I probably need a network. I probably needed to start doing content in some shape or form. So what brought you to Twitter, and then what was your initial Twitter strategy that led to your kind of rapid growth?
Yeah, so I mean, this was probably about exactly a year ago this month, because I moved to Charlotte about a year ago this month. And really right when I moved here is when, I don't know why, I just came to the realization, like one day I was sitting here, I'm like, I can count on one hand the amount of other Amazon sellers I know. And anybody that's in this business knows it is so unique. It has a lot of nuances. And unless you're really in the space and you're in deep, then sometimes it feels like you're completely alone. There's nobody you can talk to. This business has problems that other businesses don't. So, I mean, really just in an effort to like share wins and losses with other people that get it, I started looking for just communities to join, like other Amazon groups to join. So I started looking at meetup.com. There were a couple of meetups, but they didn't seem too active. And then I stumbled upon, actually there was somebody it's called $1 Million Sellers, MDS. It's a large, very high level Amazon networking group. I heard somebody from MDS go on to Scott Needham's podcast and just talking about MDS, talking about the community. And from what I could get from the podcast, it was like high level, like the people in there were legit. So I reached out. Turns out in order to even get considered, to even be considered to join, you have to do at least $1 million in trailing 12 months revenue on Amazon. You've got to prove it. You've got to like hold up a picture, like your ID next to your sales. Like, they make you jump through some hoops, but it's because the quality of the community is so high. So I ended up joining
Barrier to
that.
entry.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And it was, so to give you context, like I was kind of on the fence about joining because it's not free and it's definitely not cheap. But the guy that was interviewing me set me up with one of the members who actually is local here to me. He actually lives right down the block. We have lunch. Come to find out, he's a top 50 nationwide Amazon seller, 150 million a year, all wholesale, all brand direct, has a massive retail store. I mean, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but and he's like too big for me. Like it was nice of him to meet me, but he like will not return my texts after that. he's like big time. But so like that's the caliber of people that were in that group. So I joined. I met some guy and I went to their national event. And when I got there, it was probably 150 other people. The total group is like 500, but there's probably 150 people at this event. I was like the smallest fish in that room, and it wasn't even close. Like everybody there was so legit. It was mainly private label, but these are like high multiple 8-figure private label sellers that own SaaS companies that also run their own communities. Like this is like who's who of the Amazon private label space primarily.
Yeah.
So started hanging out with them, like really leveled up just by being around that caliber of people. And then, so kind of coming off that experience, I'm like, oh, I need to keep doing this, but I also want to find some people that are doing what I'm doing. Like there's not a lot of wholesale people in this group. So long story short, stumble upon Twitter, stumble upon the Buy Box Bandits podcast, ended up getting in touch with Miles and Garrett, went on there shout out. And then went on there and had what I thought was a pretty good episode, seemed to resonate with a lot of people, started getting a lot more active on Twitter. And my goal with Twitter was really just to provide value. I mean, give people tips that like today seem super obvious and super common sense to me. But what I found out is that like people don't know this stuff. And I do. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, well, I might as well share it. It's not like it's going to really create any competition. And it really seemed to resonate. So that was kind of my strategy.
Can I tell you why I think it worked?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty simple, but like in my mind, step 1, do shit. And then step 2, talk about the shit you do.
Yeah.
And
right.
in my
Simple
mind,
as that.
I think at this point, like to get to exactly what you said, like it's not about competition. This space, and especially Twitter in general, but like just Amazon in general, I think like people are hungry for knowledge. They're hungry. Like information is monetized.
Mm-hmm.
What lead do you have? What source do you have? How'd you get it? Right? What Discord are you in? What community are you in? All that information, all that networking, all that connection is monetizable. And I think people are using it in a bad way. So you hit this perfect time where you were saying like everybody wanted to know about wholesale. And you were valid in wholesale saying, yep, I just did 4.3 million, right? Which is exactly what everybody wanted to do. And then you were giving tactical information for free that was not hurting you to give away.
Right.
Because in wholesale, you have exclusives, right? You have these exclusive brand relationships, and you're not having to out yourself and saying, hey, you're just saying, look at my systems, look at my processes. This is how I got stuff. And everyone's able to jump on that and take that. And I think you just built a ton of value to the point where, like, did you cross 6,000 followers yet?
I think I'm at like 5,700, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, probably will be in a week or two.
And that's not like a huge number, right? If we're talking about like in the social media space in general, it's not huge. But when you have a community of 5,700 people that are engaged, that value what you're talking about, it's so much more valuable than having 100,000 people that are passive.
Yeah, I've been saying that a lot recently. That like audience quality is so much more important than audience quantity. And without getting into the specifics of the wholesale challenge, I mean, what we've been able to do with that offer is proof. I mean, the fact that it doesn't take 100,000 people to monetize an audience in a big way.
Yeah.
Obviously, for their benefit too.
So, and you started putting out YouTube content. YouTube's in slow growth, right? But like, tell me what's your vision with that? Why did you start that? Why do you look at YouTube?
I mean, I just see YouTube as a way to build trust and credibility in a much bigger way long term. YouTube content is evergreen. I can put out a video today that's still going to get watched a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. And I mean, selfishly too, some of my revenue comes from affiliates, like these software programs that I work with that I've been using for years that I believe in. And so because of that, I promote them to other people. And when people sign up using my link, I get a kickback. So just speaking very tactically, I like making YouTube videos about the tools that I use because it drives affiliate revenue, and the content like that just isn't out there. Like if I can show you how to use a software tool in a way that you didn't know before, and it helps you land a new wholesale account, or it helps you find a new product, or it helps you do anything, then that's a win in my mind, and it's a win for you. So,
well, and business owners, listen to this. I think that if you are someone that is an expert in your niche, so you have knowledge in your niche that other people don't have, if you are not putting out free content that's educational, you are losing revenue. And I think people 100%. Need to recognize that because what Corey, the stuff you're posting, it's not viral. It's not going to go. It's not going to.
And it never will be.
And frankly,
and that's not the goal. I don't want it.
It's not even like entertaining. It's not like the purpose of it is not to entertain. It's to educate.
Yep.
And I think what you've done is you've established yourself as the educational resource for wholesale. And I think there's people that have accomplished more than you that aren't doing this.
100%. Yeah.
They're going to lose because of it.
I agree. I mean, there's people that are doing, I mean, I don't know everything about wholesale. Nobody does. But there are guys that are 10, 20, 30 times bigger than me that have been around the block for decades longer than me, that know more, that have more information. They just haven't taken the time to build the presence and to really articulate it in a way that resonates with people that might be a few years behind them.
And so I want to address like the Amazon sellers within this niche, right? Because that's probably the people that are going to be listening to this, or people that care about you and want to know more about wholesale. I think if you are not giving value for free to your community, that's not intentionally being monetized, right? Like the goal of it is not to make money. The goal of it is to give free information that helps your community. I think you're going to lose. And that doesn't mean that you need to talk about strategies that are beyond you. So like you don't need to come across as Corey who's done 4.3. You can come across as Jared that's done $60,000, right? And maybe there's some 16-year-old kid that's like, man, I would really love to pocket 10%. I would love to pocket, $6,000 this year, right, for this summer. And I would love to know the steps that you took to make $60,000 in 3 months. And if I could make 10%, returns on that, that'd be awesome. There's someone out there that wants that. And so you have value to give. Don't be chasing the people that, like, the reason Corey's able to come in and crush it is because he has evidence. He has evidence to support that he is valid in this space. I'm really excited about what you're going to do. So tell me about your vision. What do you like if you have your goals in your head of like what you want to accomplish in this next year? We don't have to get into like super specifics, but like what if you could be like, I really want to hit this number on YouTube. I really want to hit this. I really want to hit this number for my podcast. I really want to do this on other platforms. Like what are you thinking about doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it really doesn't come down to like a number per se. Like we talked about follower count. It means nothing to me. It's quality it's quality over quantity in terms of followers, in terms of everything. So I think in my mind, I know. But at the end of the day, I mean, in my mind, I want to be the go-to, like when you think of Amazon Wholesale, I want you to think of me. Like I want to be synonymous with that term and with that business model. And I want to be the hands down biggest, most respected educator on that topic in the space. And so in order to do that, I'm just going to be tripling down on content, making sure that my content is by far the most tactical out there. So when you watch a video from me, you're not going to finish the video scratching your head like, oh, what do I do next? You're going to learn exactly what to do based on that given topic. And I mean that, I'm kind of purposely pigeonholing myself into the wholesale space, but for a good reason. I mean, I don't think that you do big things by going broad. I think the more niche you can get, the better. And the wholesale niche is still big enough to, have a very viable business on the side out, on the information side. So when I have things like the Amazon Wholesale podcast, this week I've started dubbing my Thursday email the Amazon Wholesale newsletter. I've got my YouTube presence. I've got my Twitter presence. I will be branching out into Instagram, TikTok, Facebook possibly as well. The goal, like I said, is to be the face of Amazon Wholesale on every social media platform. Yeah,
I love that. And I think the net positive of that, like I think something that's unique about you too is that your vision is so long-term.
Mm-hmm.
I think people...
It has to be.
People like I tell people, like whenever someone has a call with me, I say, are you posting 21 times a week? In my mind, you should be doing at least 21 times a week, 3 threads a week, right? Maybe 1 lead magnet a week, and we can talk like other podcasts. I'll talk about what those are, but like you've done stuff like that. You've had your systems in place, and you've seen the compounding benefit for 7 months. And I think a lot of people just quit. A lot of people do it maybe for a week, maybe for a month, and it just stops. Like so, in my mind, the reality is if you have the value, if you have the information that people want, and you're willing to give it away for free, and you're not going to try to monetize it, you're just going to try to give value to people. If you do that for a long enough period of time and it is the best, there's no way you don't win.
Yep.
And I wish more people would have that perspective of like, there's something that you have that you're the best at, that you know how to do better than anybody else. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be, I sold $4.3 million. You don't have to do that. It can be as simple as like, I know something about this hobby, this niche, this side hustle, this business. And you can educate people, and doing that every single day for years, you're going to win.
Exactly.
And everyone's going to say, it's going to look like it's this like I guarantee you, when you hit 100K followers on some platform, which you will, it's going to be like, oh man, Corey, that was an overnight success. And it's like, nope, you're going to be able to go back to the read receipts, and you're going to be able to say, he started on Twitter in January of 2023.
Right. Well, or look at the first, 60 YouTube videos where I sound like a freaking robot, and I'm still working on that. But like, I think we're at what 100, maybe 120 YouTube videos, and for the first
Probably.
2 to 3 months, we were doing one every weekday, like literally 5 videos a week, to the
Yeah.
point where like the quality started to go downhill because I was just running out of stuff to talk about. But my goal, and I told you this all along, like I don't care really about quality up front. I want to get the reps in. I want to get practice in front of the camera, so that
Yeah.
come video 100, video 150, video 300, because I am thinking that long term, I'm going to be a lot better. You know, that was kind of the thought process there.
Video 1000 is gonna be better than video 100.
100%.
So if you have that mentality of like, I'm just gonna get there, then like there's just no way you're gonna lose, because everyone else is thinking like, how can I make this video the one that's gonna go? And it's like, nope, that's
Not
just
gonna
not the
happen.
perspective.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. It's gonna happen organically as you get better at things. So,
Right.
Corey, I appreciate you, man. I want to gas you up. I interacted with you because I knew immediately from seeing your tweets that you were valid. And there's not many people, like I read through people, I can see through people, like there's some people that are legit, there's some people that are not legit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in Amazon in general and you want to know anything about wholesale, but specifically Amazon, right? I think Corey's one of the best resources to go to. So you better be following him. Corey, give me your socials, give me everything that we've already kind of plugged, but tell them where you're at.
Yeah, so not trying to overwhelm people, but I am on Twitter at Ganim Corey. YouTube is at Corey Ganim. And if you're interested in checking out the podcast, so that's just the Amazon Wholesale podcast. That's on any podcast platform pretty much. Like I said, I do send out a weekly newsletter as well. And to get on that list, you would just have to download either my free guide on how to find a supplier or my email templates, which are in pretty much all of my social bios. So Twitter is my most active platform by far, though.
Yeah, and we'll get you on everything else. He's
Yep.
gonna pop. We also have to. I think we have to update your names. We gotta get central name for everything.
Yeah, I
Whatever
agree.
we gotta do, we gotta make.
Well,
it the
there's
same.
some at Corey Ganim on Twitter hasn't tweeted since 2012, so like we gotta
I think
get that figured out.
I think you can steal that. I think you just have to request it.
Oh,
And
really?
We'll talk offline. We'll
Oh,
figure it out.
nice. Okay.
I'll get you that. But yeah, so anyway, just follow him, man. It's just straight up value. And I think by the time this comes out, like pretty soon after this comes out, you'll also be on TikTok. You'll also be on Instagram. So just look up Corey Ganim, and if you want to learn about this is the educational resource to get. If you're not interested, he's also just giving good business insight. So definitely worth a follow, definitely worth your attention. Corey, thanks for coming on. I'm really excited about what we're going to build in this next year, and just seeing how much value you're going to give to people and the compounding effect. Like I think like you're gonna be surprised at how much you're going to be able to accomplish even just in a year. Like
I hope so.
It's
I hope I am.
already happened, but it's like it's gonna go crazy. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find this podcast on everywhere. So feel free to follow me as well. Thanks for being here.